Market's down. Monday, Tuesday, excuse me. Dazed and confused, right? What are we gonna say? Is PK here out of the box? Led Zeppelin, of course. Very appropriate. Very appropriate this time. Because the name of the show is, today, with out of the boxes, why do traders bury themselves? Which is very appropriate. I see the S down 40 handles right now. Market's down on Tuesday after this strong rally. Okay, this is from my generation. Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant, Jimmy Page. Come on. All right, let's start the show. It's not a musical show, right? Okay, let's start the music for now. Okay, guys, here are. Anyway, very, very appropriate for the market. The VIX going up. The market's been wild. A big, strong up day yesterday. Monday, now again down. Friday, big down day. So we got a lot of action. So look, this is the number one problem in all trading is why, is people, traders bury themselves. Let me give you a little background. First, I gotta have a cigarette because a little bit shaky this morning. As you know why. I'm in the fitness. Anyway, so listen. I have one of my students. He's been trading for about 18 months, and mainly in options. And he recently dabbled in some ES futures, the micros. And he asked me, he said, "Hey PK, I'm reading here. I don't understand it. Flowers in my way. I don't understand it. Why do most traders bury themselves and get stuck in their trades? He's a little bit he doesn't have this problem because he did option spreads, and he asked me that question, and I started thinking about it. Of course, I mentioned in many of my videos, but I thought I would just talk about it here. Which is a great question. Why do traders bury themselves? It's happened to all of us. It's happened to me. It'll happen to you. If you're new in your career, it's just a question of time. You're going to get stuck. And the other thing, the question I would say part two of this question is why do traders bury themselves? Is why do they do it over and over again after you suffer through the pain? How many of you have done this? I've done it. You say you're never going to do it again, then 3 months later, you're in the same goddamn position. You did it again. And you say, God, what the hell is wrong with me? I'm telling you, it's just human nature. It's very hard to get this, the money management to really understand that, because we all have our ego involved in all our trades. All of us do. On one hand, you have to have ego to do it, but that same ego is what destroys us. Because I want to break it down. Really, to answer that question is, why do traders bury themselves and continue to do it over and over again? There's three things. Of course, the first thing really is their ego. They just can't handle it. They can't admit, they can't admit they're wrong. It's very hard, especially if you've been waiting for something and you love it and you really believe in your setup. I know you guys can relate to this. It happens to every one of us at some point. We just can't accept that we're wrong. Our ego will not allow it. Meanwhile, let's say you're long, the market's dropping, and you're not ready. That box that tells you your position in a stock or your future, ES or NQ or whatever the hell it may be, crude oil, Bitcoin, I don't care what the hell you are, stock. That box is getting redder and redder and redder, and you're thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? And it happens like you're a deer in the headlights. You just sit there, and what I want to say is, also go into, let's say the next thing is B, you want to go into this thinking, I want to make it back quickly, you'll add more to a losing position, you'll double down, triple down, all sorts of things, And finally, after you got the full position, you did one here, did another one down here, and down here, and then you're saying, oh God, you know what happens? You go, and I call it, PK calls it, you go into hope mode. And I'm telling you, you guys, once you go into hope mode, you better whip out the painkillers because you're really in trouble. Yes, happens, all of us. Yes, it turns around sometimes and you get away with it. But let me tell you, all this does is reinforce bad behavior, so this is really, it's a real issue. I'm actually surprised, the books, nobody could write, I could write a whole book just on that, about the whole issue, the emotional aspect of bearing yourself and what it does to you psychologically. Because what it does is not only that day or that trade, it continues in your heart and soul for the next trade, and then tomorrow it carries on. The damage lingers on emotionally, not just the money that you might have lost that day. So anyway, it's okay, PK. What are the solutions? What can we do? How do we deal with this thing about not to bury ourselves? And I'll say 4 things to make it pretty simple. I've gone 7 minutes already. I'm rambling. It's freezing in Florida. You notice I wore a shirt. I even have long pants on. Although, you guys, I wouldn't call these pants. It's, what do you call it? When sleeping. It's been cold. Listen, we call 55 degrees cold here in Florida, which it is in the morning. It'll warm up to 78, 80 degrees later, but it's freezing. Anyway, so what are the solutions, PK? Okay, number 1, you don't average in. If you understand, if you have some position, yes, averaging in the position is, you got to really know what you're doing. This takes tremendous discipline because this gives you an excuse. Hey, I want to do, let's say, 300 shares of something, or 3 NASDAQ, or 3 ESP, or three positions of something, and you have the money to do one here, and you say, I like the range, like one here, one here, and here. But it's very easy to get sloppy, and this is the problem. It takes tremendous discipline to buy one here, here, and here, right? Or your stock, and admit you're wrong. It gets harder, actually. It's much better when you bet them all at once, because then you're faced with the reality. I've made my trade. I've got them all in at the initial place, and you have to deal with it if it starts going against you. So don't average in is number 1. Of course, number 2 is real obvious. Put a stop in. Even if it's an emergency stop. I know you guys, a lot of you are short-term, quote-unquote, scalpers, or going for 1-to-1, 2-to-1. You're afraid to put that stop in. Okay, then put in an emergency stop in. Let's say you want to use that 3-point stop, or 2-point stop, or a 5-point stop. Put one in down 10, just in case some disaster. Because what happens is, take it from someone who's been doing this for years, it comes out of nowhere. All of a sudden, if you're long, it'll just start dropping quickly, and you just can't react. Even on the computer, you can't push that button quick enough. You're just thinking, your mind automatically goes into hope mode, and you don't want to be there. So I say, put some type of stop in when you make that trade. And 3, of course, the classic, don't add to a losing position. Losers add to losers. Paul Tudor Jones, if you guys know who he is, he's one of the top traders in the world from my generation. Had the classic sign he posted up on next to his computer on his board that, losers add to losers. And that's really what it is. There's a little difference between adding to losers and scaling in. There's a big difference. Don't forget that. So don't do that. And number 4, let me see here. This is another thing too. I think it's a great idea. A lot of people have asked me about this. Should I, which is limit the amount of money you want to risk per day. You say, hey, I want to risk $200, $500, $50, $1,000. Pick some number where you said, you know what, it's going wrong for me, I'm quitting. Because let me tell you, start losing and your mind is screwed up and you're not going to recover. You go into all sorts, especially when you go into that I want to make it back quickly mode. Anyway, where are we at now here? Let me go to the music and tell you how I do it, how I deal with it. We need a little bit of music. Let's go here. We got some Led Zeppelin. Okay. Dazed and confused. That's something you don't want to be, especially today, guys. You don't want to be dazed and confused, or you're going to be in trouble. When you got that high volatility, you get this music down your shoulder, but you really can get. There we go. Listen. You really get yourself in trouble. On one hand, we love the volatility gets great because all of us can make a lot of money. On the other hand, you really have to have the great discipline to fill those trades, throw them out quickly because they can get away from you. The market can move so quickly. What are you going to do? So anyway, wrap this thing up. How does PK do it? What do I do? How do I handle it? First of all, you guys know I use tight stops. I don't risk a lot per trade. Yes, I get whipped around sometimes, but it's still better than burying yourself. Believe me, you can always trust me. Another thing is, you have to be willing to accept being whipped around. I don't care if I'm using a tight stop and you guys are using a wider stop. There's no solution that guarantee you can't be whipped around. And what I mean by being whipped around is, you go along here, you put your 5-point stop here, you know what happens. It goes down, you're stopped out, 2 minutes later, turns around, takes off, and you said, damn, if I'd given it 6 points or 7 points. And you'll say this, if you use a 7-point stop, it'll go 8 points in turn around. There is no way to avoid being whipped around in trading. You have to be willing to accept that. This is part of the deal. What else here? Okay. Another thing also, this music, I don't know, with Led Zeppelin, they went off into some craziness here in the middle of the song. It's screwing my head up right now. Look, the other thing is, you have to be able to accept in your mind that you're going to be wrong, I say half the time. It's a simple number. And it's very hard on the ego to admit to yourself, you know what? Half my trades are going to be losers, or maybe 40%. But if you're an active trader, believe me, you have to. This is part of the difficulty of trading. There's a lot of losing involved. Even if it's small losers like me, it affects you. I joke around, you guys know, when you get older, you take blood pressure pills and painkillers and all sorts of crap. That's why I go to the fitness to deal with it. But even when you're young, you have to accept in your mind that you're going to be faced with a number of losers along the way. It's just part of trading. It's about, keeping the losers small and making the winners large. That's what trading is all about. In fact, that's what professional trading is all about. It's that simple. Believe it. Hard for us to execute, but it's that simple. And let's see. Number 4 is always take your best. I always take my best setups. In my case, you guys know I'm a momentum style trader. I only take reversals and gaps. Everything else I don't do. But I used to be a very active trader, buying in the dip, selling the rally, all sorts of ways that you guys do. And you guys know that you can't say all trades are the same. Some trades are better than others. So you want to take, you guys know what your best setup is. I don't mean the best outcome. You have a feeling, this gut feeling sometime, that this is the one. And I'm telling you, these are the trades you want to call it your A game, as I said in the past. And the other thing, too, has been a very big help. It's kind of like setting a stop loss on how much money you want to lose. For me, to make it so I can mentally handle, remember, the name of the shows, why do traders bury themselves? This is how to avoid burying yourself, which is I limit myself to 2 tries. Now, I'm going to make 2 tries of my favorite setup, and if it doesn't work, get stopped at for a loss or stopped at even. That's it. I walk away, come back for another day. It's always about being able to come back another day, but fresh on the mind, not screwed up and damaged. And like, oh my God, I'm shaking. I got to make back today's loss tomorrow or in the next trade. So anyway, that's how we do it. I was hoping to get some Led Zeppelin here at the end. Let's just take it from the beginning. Okay. So what's going to happen this week? We got the market down. Of course, I think we're going to have lower, but it's going to end up lower. The NASDAQ is showing some strength. But listen, whatever you guys do, Don't bet it too big, or you better have some stops in, right? So anyway, this PK went out of the box. I hope I ran around and went about 7 minutes longer than I wanted to, but look, we're not surprised, right? The question is, why did traders bury themselves? If I didn't answer it good enough, write me, or call me, and I'll try to answer it even better. Ciao, everybody. Let's all make some money today. Big volatility. Ciao.